Do we have new music?
NASA's got the new music because that was
no, because we have a certain background music that I put in.
Oh.
So I don't know. I don't know what the new music is, but I also had desktop audio on that I wasn't supposed to have on. So it might have been conflicting with the background music that we're supposed to have.
What desktop audio?
It would have been whatever was coming from the YouTube stream. For the NASA stream. So it might have been the NASA, whatever was playing for that NASA stream, and then our actual audio was supposed to... Anyway, hello out there in... I can't say TV land anymore, because it's not technically TV. YouTube land, streaming land, internet land, the world land. It's been a bit. We successfully made it back from the fires of Mount Doom. AKA just people visiting and Mike being out of town. Mike on assignment for once, actually. Mike was on assignment.
15 days, baby.
Yeah, so we're back. And then after this episode, just FYI, we will have another hiatus where we won't be back until July 21st because we together will be on assignment in South Carolina.
Yeah, and so seeing family. It was a wedding that is now not happening.
But that's okay.
It's probably for the best. And so we're going to go.
Yeah, we're gonna experience the humidity of South Carolina. I've never been before, so I'm excited to go hang out with his family and see Charleston and just have some real good fucking barbecue.
Yeah, so Randy Scott Barbecue down in Charleston, get ready for us because we're coming.
We're coming. 2/3 of Cosmos, making your way.
And if Brandon wants to join us in Charleston,
in fact, this weekend we will be having for the 4th of July weekend. We're having a fellowship weekend. Brandon will be here at Cosmos Studios. We will not be doing any live shows or anything, but we will be recording some shots.
Yes.
So that'll be fun. Maybe I can get him to actually post on our social and do some actual Cosmos marketing. Anyway, I guess we should get started with the show.
You're in charge.
Oh God, I am in charge of this show. Okay.
Cool. But. I do really like your shirt, like I said this morning.
Oh, thank you. Katie and I got the same shirt at a local shop here in town, and it was just on sale, and it was just like a fun little
got Leo
little space shirt. I need more space shirts. I don't have a lot of space shirts, ironically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need more fun space shirts that I like.
A few.
Yeah, it was on clearance. I like to buy everything on clearance, basically. Anyway, all right. Hey, everyone.
Should we get the thing?
Oh, well, I mean, I thought it was going to be because then you got to position it back.
Okay, well, hold on.
Okay. All right, we're professionals. This looks real professional.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cosmos with Cosmos. I'm Liz.
I'm Mike.
And Brandon is on assignment somewhere camping, I guess, in the wilderness. So hopefully he survives. We'll find out when we come back. Maybe on the 21st of July, we'll have our next episode after this, as we will be on a hiatus on assignment. So for those of you listening and watching out there, July 21st is when we will return after this episode. Maybe it'll be all three of us in the same show. We'll find out. We don't know. Schedules vary. But this episode, of course, is another edition of High in the Sky, and it's for July 2024, because that's the time of year that we are in now. I can't believe it. It's summer. It's...
For those that are watching us live, it's only a day away.
I know. We're almost... it's like... time. Check out our episode on time, because time's weird and crazy and doesn't make sense, but it does, but it doesn't. Of course, check us out on all the things at Drinking Cosmos on Twitter and Cosmos with Cosmos everywhere else, and find us on the Spotifys and the YouTubes, and no one gives a shit. No one's fucking calling it that. We don't care. And also check out some people that we love and have cool stuff like Wildixia, Wildixia on Etsy, and her amazing artwork there. Our buddy Jack Northrop's, his planetarium, if you're in the Council Bluffs area of Iowa, the Rolling Bluffs Planetarium.
Hopefully Jack survived all that rain and flooding down.
Yeah, he did. He was well, I don't want to give away any details of his life based on what I see on social media, but he was having a good Sunday apparently today. So okay. He's out enjoying his Sunday right now. And our good buddy Mr. Proctor, Mr. Ron Proctor, MrProctorShow.com. I don't know what his new website is, but he's doing some amazing stuff down over in Tucson with Kitt Peak Observatory, and building some great visualizations and like.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I got something on me. For those of you listening, he's fixing my face.
Fix your hair.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And of course, check out our little shot-sized bits of astronomy science with our episodes, our little episodes, The Shot, coming out every other Wednesday. Just little pieces of fun science.
Little
tidbits for you, little nuggets. Well, I gotta find a better way to say that. But anyway, and of course, we have some rules during the show, which is if any dogs start barking, which is always a possibility here at Cosmos Studios, take a drink. And if we make any nerdy Star Wars or Lord of the Rings references, also take a drink.
The pups are just out.
That's good. Until they hear a noise. They think we're
at work.
Yeah. Speaking of drinks, though, what are you drinking this episode, Mike?
I'm calling it the Stone. We'll get to that.
The Stone.
Yeah. But this is it's got all right. So it's a juice that has it has pineapple juice. It's got peach juice. It's got orange juice. It's got cherry juice and grape juice.
Wow, that's a lot of juice.
And I've mixed it with rum and coconut rum. So cheers, everybody.
Oh, nice. Very summery. It looks, you can't really tell, I don't think, on the video here, but for those of you listening, and also, it's kind of like this nice lavender color to it. Yeah,
you have a thing for lavender.
This is a little more purple than lavender, but
yeah.
I do. Meanwhile, I am drinking the GOAT, the greatest of all time beers. This is a beer by Monkless Brewery here in Oregon. It's called Poor Pitiful Me, and it's my most favorite beer ever, and it got me into enjoying dark beers and basically kind of beer in general. So
Cosmos with Cosmos and endorsing Monkless
We're
beer.
Endorsing Monkless beer. They are not a sponsor. They don't know about us in any way, but I am promoting them because it's fucking awesome. I know, and take a sip. Oh god, it's so good. Looks like Katie and Adam just finished a mocha cold brew, and should probably grab a White Claw soon. So cool, awesome.
All right, let's get into it.
Oh, you just want to go steaming right ahead? All right, then let's get high in the sky. One of these days. Anyway. Mom has a nice coffee too. Ooh, iced coffee. I've been, okay, just a little detour off of the podcast here for everybody. If you visit Oak Ridge, Oregon, there's like a local bakery. Every coffee place, there's a little coffee shop. It's got good coffee. But the drive-through coffee hut, I've been hitting up that recently on my way to physical therapy to deal with my back issues. And man, they got some good stuff. They had a honey nut latte.
Are they going to be open after this?
Oh, I don't know. I think they're open daily for whatever hours. But anyway, and a vanilla iced chai. Oh God, it's so good. Anyway, I love iced coffee. Anyway,
now I'm gonna have to go get some.
No, we don't have to go get any. Okay.
But I'm saying I want some.
Okay, you don't usually drink coffee, so all right. High in the sky. Of course, with our High in the Skies, we like to feature a constellation highlight. And this constellation highlight for July is Capricornus, the Dorito chip of the sky. I'll talk about that in a second, but it's also known as the sea goat.
The sea goat.
My goat drink. here. It may sound familiar, Capricornus. Yes, Capricorn. The astrological symbol is in relation to Capricorn. It is Capricornus. But, you know, I will not go on an astrology rant in this episode. So if you're thinking astrology, get the fuck out. It is one of the 12 or 13 zodiac constellations. These run across the ecliptic.
We should say 13.
It is technically 13 because Ophiuchus. His foot does touch the ecliptic. But the ecliptic is basically the plane of our solar system projected onto the sky. So every constellation that's on that ecliptic that the sun travels through is known as a zodiac constellation, and that goes way back to the ancient Babylonian. I mean, in fact, most of the things we recognize in the sky can go back to the ancient Babylonians. Essentially. In Latin, Capricornus means the goat, or goat horn, or horned goat. Take your pick of what it is. But we commonly see it as a sea goat. So randomly, it's half fish. It's just half.
But we find why it's not half random.
Yeah, we draw it. Yes, we do. But it's seemingly random that it's a half goat, half fish. The bottom part is the fish part. The top part is the goat part. Otherwise, it'd be weird because then you wouldn't really recognize it as if the butt was a goat and the top was a fish. How weird would that be?
Oh. Hey, Jack's with us.
Oh, Jack is here. Okay, astrology is all over anime. Yeah, so it must be right. If it's in anime. Now, the best time to actually see Capricornus is in September, but it'll be around all summer long in the night sky. It is a faint constellation, though, okay? So, we can't always highlight the bright ones. We like to, gotta highlight
anything
some dim
associated
ones.
with water in some sort of way is dim.
Is it dim?
Yeah.
Oh.
They all are.
They're all dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
Cetus, Cancer, Pisces, Aquarius. They're all dim constellations.
And so this dim constellation, if you're in a dark area, or if you use a sky map application to help you find it, the pattern of the stars actually just looks like a Dorito chip. It's basically this triangle shape.
That's how I pointed out.
That looks that's how I would point it out, and that's why it's the Dorito of the sky. And I imagine it as a nacho cheese Dorito or a Cool Ranch. Those are my favorite.
We should come up with chips and dips.
Chips and dips. The food constellations of the sky. Are we hungry? Is this what's happening?
A hot dog one.
Well, that's obviously we know which one that is. So you can find it by drawing a line from Vega, the stars Vega and Altair, which are part of the summer triangle, down to the southern part of the sky. I didn't realize that either. So again, a sky map application can help you find these stars if you're not familiar already with Vega, Altair. Vega and Altair will be pretty bright. Vega especially will be very bright. And so you can find that Dorito chip with the help of those stars. Virgo would be a martini. I'll take that. Yeah, I'll definitely be a martini.
Apparently, speaking of martinis, my dad had a sour apple martini, green martini. But it was Ricky's drink, but he had some of it.
He had some of it? Did he like it?
Yeah, he said it wasn't too bad.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah, but my goal is to get him to drink a pina colada. He hates pineapples.
He hates pineapples?
Yeah.
You don't even really taste the pineapple in a pina
colada.
What I told him.
You
taste mostly coconut.
Yeah, but I don't think he likes coconut either. Anyway, sorry.
My mom says I'm a Virgo and I love martinis. She does. Dirty. She likes it dirty. Anyway. Don't know why I said that about my mom. Anything cool hanging out in that region of space with Capricornus? Well, yes, there is. The globular cluster M30, Messier 30. And a globular cluster basically... it's a bunch of old-ass stars, all right? It's old stars hanging together, bound together through gravity. They're hanging out generally in the halo of a spiral galaxy.
Are you going to say why they're old-ass stars?
Yeah, I'm gonna start looking at all that stars.
Because it's not in the notes.
Yeah, it's an outline. It's not a verbatim script. I like to just
no, I know that.
Go off the cuff. I'm getting there.
Okay.
So this conglomerate of stars, I like that. I like that. Is 27,140 light years away. It's 90 light years across, and it formed 13 billion years ago. Hence being some old-ass fucking stars.
So, what kind of stars are these? Like, first-generation stars.
Yeah.
These are the first ones to
Star
be
Trek
formed.
First Generation. Oh. That should be a new series. Star Trek First Generation.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Next Generation. I guess the First Generation is the original. I said Star Trek. I said the word Star Trek.
But it's not...
Oh, Star Treks aren't rules. It's Star Wars. Whatever. Drink anyway.
But we should drink that anyway.
Yeah. In this globular cluster, it's made up of several 100,000 stars. And the combined mass is 160,000 times that of our sun.
And all these stars are in a very small... area. So, but you know what's really cool though? If you are in the center of on a planet in the center of this, your star just your sky explodes.
Your
with
sky
stars.
is filled with stars.
Yeah,
it would be hard. Would it be hard to see out of it to observe the rest of?
Probably so. Probably so.
I wonder how bright it would make it.
Oh, it'd be really bright at night. I'm betting. But also, if you're on the edge, though, can you imagine? Like, you're on a planet that goes around a star for like half the year. Maybe you're facing out to where you see the Milky Way and what kind of view that would be. And then the other
depending
half
on your
at
orientation,
night.
because you would see most of like the Milky Way because we're in it. So our view of the Milky Way, we're seeing basically from like the plane of it out. So we just kind of see this like swath across. But if you're in a globular cluster, you're outside of. Well, I mean, you're in the halo, but you're outside of those spiral arms, so you can kind of.
Maybe next year
in Star Wars, that's where when they're on episode 2, and they're in the medical ship.
Okay, so for at the end,
episode.
It's episode 5, right? Because it's
I'm sorry.
Back.
Episode 5, episode 2.
Empire
God,
Strikes
what a
Back.
dumb. Okay, but we're talking about Star Wars, so everybody go ahead and take a drink. So
Ron
hey, Ron! So maybe they're on that medical ship, and so they're where a globular cluster would be, looking out at the galaxy.
Far out, though. I mean, even with even with like M30, you're not that far out.
All right. Well, they're looking at some fucking galaxy, and
they are looking at a galaxy.
They should have thought about that science a little bit better when they were doing it. All right. Back to Copernicus. Okay, so we have M30 hanging out in there. But the origins of Copernicus, we like to talk a little bit about kind of that mythology behind it, or like how it got its name, or what's it to its. Again, I mentioned Babylonians, right? They gave us a lot of Capricornus.
You said Copernicus.
Copernicus, Capricornus.
Same thing.
Copernicus. Yeah, it's Copernicus.
But Copernicus was the Polish.
Yes, I know. He's now a sea goat.
But I mean,
so
I was like, wait a minute.
So hold on. Now I got to think about it. Copernicus. No, Capricornus.
Capricorn. Just call it Capricorn.
I've had 3 sips of beer. This is like the most alcohol I've drank in a while.
That's why.
Why. So Capricornus, for the Babylonians, it was associated with their god Enki. The Sumerians, they knew the constellation as the goatfish, or Suhur-Mash-Ha. While Babylonian star catalogs compiled around 1000 BCE called it Mul Suhur Mas, also meaning goatfish. So
you did really well with
I
those.
don't know about that. We'll see if there's anybody that is
Babylonian that's listening.
Any Babylonians out there, Sumerians, let me know about my pronunciation there. It's probably horrible. But that's where we get the sea goat, or goatfish, is from the Babylonians. Now,
just drunk you have to be to go, that's a friggin' goat and a fish.
Of stars.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, and I don't know if like it's just like if that like Dorito shape of stars we see today is like all the stars that they saw that they encompassed in that constellation, or if it's been whittled down or whatever through the historical game of telephone that happens with everything. Now, of course, Capricornus is going to be Greek. Well, not the name, obviously, is Latin, but the main myth behind it is going to be associated with the Greeks. The majority of the constellations have some association with the Greeks, just because when the sky was kind of being formally mapped out, when the constellations were formally being assigned constellations during the scientific revolution, not scientific revolution, during the Enlightenment, no, I don't know, whichever one. There was a big, in Europe, there was a big resurgence in, like, Greek stuff. You know how, like, 90s, like, stuff is popular now? It's like, they were like, oh, the Greeks are pretty cool, guys. Let's do everything, and let's make everything Greeks. And so they basically piggybacked on, like, what the Greeks saw in the sky. We're like, we'll use that. Meanwhile, various different cultures throughout the world and throughout history have had their own view of what the stars are associated with and what they've seen.
Then you go forward in time, and they really kind of mess it up even more by going, okay, constellations are going to be Greek, planets are going to be Roman, stars are going to be Arabic names. And
well, most star names were cataloged by Arabic culture, so they just stuck with that. But the Greeks associated Capricornus. God damn it, fucking Copernicus, get out of here.
Just call it Capricorn.
Yeah, no, because that's too zodiacal. Capricornus associated with Pan. Check out our shot on Pan, Saturn's moon, Pan. But Pan was like a oh, do you hear it? Jackie's dreaming.
It's Leia.
Oh, is Leia dreaming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, little puppy dreams. It's not really a bark, but let's take a drink for her dreaming, because she's probably dreaming something wonderful, I hope.
Well, she did growl at something, so I don't...
She does that anyway, though. She's playing and she sounds like she's going to murder Jack, and she's not.
That is true. That is true.
So Pan is a satyr, like this, like, goat with legs, like the standing goat guy. Usually has, like, a little, like...
Little flute. Little
fluty instrument, yeah.
But it's not a flute. It's like a little pipes.
Yeah. I always think of like Fantasia. I think Fantasia has like a little satyr in it. Maybe that's doing a little thing. But Pan was placed in the sky by Zeus. In gratitude for his coming to the other gods' rescue on several occasions.
Okay, let's just take a moment.
Okay.
To where let's just celebrate a thing where
it's not a woman that Zeus has raped.
It's not rapey.
Okay, it's the one
not
time.
Rapey.
Well, the one constellation that's not rapey. So, for instance, during the gods' war with the Titans, Pan helped scare the Titans away. The Titans were the pre-Olympians, basically. Like, you know, the Zeus and Heras and all that, those are the Olympians, and the Titans were like Kronos and some other ones, I don't know. And he did this by blowing his conch shell. He scared them off with a horn. Like, what? All right. And later, he warned the gods that Typhon, a monster sent by Gaia to fight them, Gaia is like Mother Earth, basically, was approaching. And he also suggested to them that the gods disguise themselves as animals until the danger passed. So, like, hey, guys, a monster's coming. Pretend to be animals. Like, and I feel like, what does this say about the gods that they needed somebody to, like, help them come up with those ideas?
Wow.
Also in the myth, Pan eluded the monster himself by jumping into the river Nile. Oh, the Nile, bringing in here. And turning the lower part of his body into that of a fish. So we're bringing back the Babylonian version, tying that in, as all cultures do. They pull from each other and interweave those stories together. Another version, though, is that the constellation is sometimes identified as Amalthea, the goat that suckled the infant Zeus after his mother Rhea saved him from being devoured by his father Kronos, because, you know, naturally gods want to eat their children. And Amalthea's broken horn was transformed into the cornucopia, or horn of plenty.
Okay.
Now, there's another constellation that is What constellation is it? It's the guy that's holding that little goat.
Oh, there's Auriga the Charioteer.
Auriga the Charioteer. Yes, he's Auriga, the constellation Auriga the Charioteer. He's holding a little goat in the classical drawings of him, and that goat is known to be Amalthea in myth. Okay. God, I haven't thought about the Auriga in a while.
I know.
Man,
well, it's wintertime, dude.
Yeah, we'll have to feature Auriga.
I do want to point out that sometimes horns do scare away your enemy, because
that's why
the Horn of Gondor and Boromir. That was what his horn was supposed to do. Was
to scare away, so it's like a conch shell. It's the Horn of Gondor.
Well, yes, when he blows it, your enemies flee, and it scares them.
Well, I was just going to say, just naturally as a defense mechanism, animals have developed horns because it's like a defense mechanism. To fight off other predators like deer and stuff.
But if we had a big horn in here and we were to blow it,
the dogs would go
Jack
fucking nuts.
And Leia would not know what to do.
Oh, jeez. It's amazing we don't have a Horn of Gondor. We're going to have to get one now.
All right. I think I'll order one.
No, don't order one. Well, let's it needs to come to us naturally. Anyway. All right. So Capricornus. There you have it. The sea goat / Dorito chip of the sky. A faint, again, constellation. So using a sky map app can help you find it if you so choose. And you can also use the stars Vega and Altair. Follow a line to the southern part of the sky from them, and you will run into...
You want one for $20 or $75?
I mean, 75 is probably going to be better quality. Anyway, but there's more than just the constellations in the sky. Yep. There are planets that are up there. And in July, we got some planets that are going to be up in the sky. Like Saturn.
Hey.
The ringed planet. Although all the gas giants have rings. Saturn just has the best rings.
Isn't Saturn associated with Kronos?
No. Well... Okay, I always thought that I had read that Saturn was based on the Roman / Greek god of agriculture, but
I thought it had to do with time.
I have heard other things. So
right. Anyway, Saturn's
in fact, all of the Greek mythology shit, there's like thousands. There's at least 10 different versions. Yeah. There's so many different versions of everything.
I was just gonna tie it back to Pan.
Kronos and Pan.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, sure, maybe. I mean, you could Google it. So Saturn is up all month long in July. It will be rising after midnight. In the eastern sky, and then up through
so we can see it in South Carolina.
Majority of the night, yeah. If you have a telescope, even just like a 4-inch telescope. I don't know about binoculars, but
binoculars, you can see the
rings.
Well, okay.
That's what I was getting
binoculars at. Are kind of as binoculars today are as good as Galileo's 2nd generation telescope. What?
Binoculars today are as good as Galileo's second generation telescope. So you can see the rings of Saturn.
Because he was able to see. It looked like it looked weird to him. And
it looked like Saturn had ears.
Yeah, but he was able to make it out.
It looked like Ferengi. Saturn was a Ferengi.
He was Ferengi, yeah.
Okay, that wasn't a drink, but you can drink. So my dad has binoculars. So Saturn definitely. Oh my God, Saturn is an amazing sight through a telescope. To see those rings with your own eyes and not just like a picture is just.
I still remember the first time I saw it through a telescope.
Yes, me too. And it was this little telescope that we have in our bedroom that I can't use because I can't figure out how to fucking find shit with it because I'm really bad because it's not motorized. And anyway, I saw Saturn through that and I was like, oh my God. And then I called my former in-laws at the time over to look and they were like, is this real? And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing taped to the front. Like... This is Saturn, and they were blown away by it. It really is for being such like a, I don't know. You're just seeing the planet with its rings, but it's okay. So Federico says Saturn is almost the Roman translation of Kronos, if he recalls high school correctly. God, they could have better education system everywhere else in the world. Anyway, so there you go. So Saturn could be Kronos.
But we have freedom, and Federico doesn't.
So then,
because freedom is only in America.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody else has freedom.
We're fucked. In America. So then, if Jupiter's king of the gods, then Saturn is actually like king of the gods because he's the he's the king of the Titans. Kronos was like the king of the Titans before the Olympian gods. So.
Did you say king or pre-king?
I said king.
King.
Okay. I said king. Anyway, so Saturn up all night long in July if you want to stay up a little bit later to check it out. Mars will be visible in the eastern sky before dawn, so rising, the red planet is, if you want to wake up a little bit earlier. And our favorite, well, okay, I know Saturn's your favorite planet, but our favorite, just nickname-wise on the show, Jupes, Jupiter. It will be in the eastern pre-dawn sky, but in the beginning of the month and by the end of the month, it'll be higher in the sky earlier. In the evening or midnight.
And, to be fair, though, Jupiter is a lot of fun to look at through a telescope, too.
Jupiter's amazing. If you get a telescope and you see the belts and bands and the red spot, the belts and zones. Sorry, I said belts and bands. Belts and zones and the red spot. Oh, my God. Jupiter is...
Yeah, now, you do need a biggish telescope to see the red spot. You might need a filter at this point.
Yeah.
Well, filter helps, and it needs to be the right time.
Because that red spot rotates around the planet, so,
As the planet rotates.
Because
because the planet's moving.
And it's a storm. So, but we're going to talk about that in a second, actually. Yeah. But I got to say, like, I love Jupes. And Jupiter and Saturn are the best planets to look at through a telescope, honestly, in my opinion. I'm sorry. But they have the most features and coolest features to look at. Is what I like. Jupes, new official name. Thank you, Ron. Yes, it is.
Well, you can make that happen, man.
All right.
But, oh, man. Oh, but also Juno, the Juno spacecraft.
Oh, my God.
Though, the pictures that Juno takes.
They're art. They are
art.
If you want an example of art and science combined, the images from Juno of Jupiter's upper atmosphere are just absolutely fucking gorgeous.
We have said this before. Go look up the images. And to be honest, I would love that on our wall.
I wonder if there's like an artist that has done any kind of like an oil painting that is an oil painting of one of those images would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. Okay. If this is such artwork that NASA has allowed, they provide all the stuff regardless.
Yeah, because our tax dollars pay for it, so it's free for us.
It's free. It's supposed to only be free to Americans, but it's free to the world. Yeah. And so, but one of the things that for Juno was, here are the raw images. Artists go do something with it. Yes. And so they actually tried to get, and I'm sure there were artists that did stuff with it. But,
yes, I have seen but it's more like a digital kind of.
But but they provided it to artists to do things with, and it's just incredibly beautiful. Yes. Incredibly beautiful.
God. Ugh. Anyway, all right. So those are some of the things that you can find in the night sky for July. Of course, there's a plethora. One of my favorite words, plethora of things to find up there.
Mm-hmm.
So many more constellations, obviously.
Constellations, deep sky objects.
Deep sky objects.
Comets, asteroids.
All that stuff. But also the moon. We forgot. I almost forgot about the moon. We like to talk about the moon and what the moon is doing. On July 3rd and 4th, happy 4th of July to those in America.
No, it is the world. It is a holiday for the world. Right? Isn't that when we defeat the aliens? It's when we defeat the aliens.
Will Smith. That's when Will Smith gets in the thing and then he punches somebody in the face and then he... Yeah. But the moon will be very bright near Jupes. So the moon can help you find Jupiter on July 3rd and July 4th. And I did this dyslexic in the notes, but July 21st, When we will be back with another episode, there will be a full moon, and this full moon is known as the full buck moon. So most full moons have sort of a name behind them, and generally these are from Native American cultures in a way that represents the kind of what's going on in Native American society and culture at the time, something that is
nature,
relevant
really.
relevant to them. And so the full buck moon is when the antler occurs, because it's called that because the antlers of the male deer are in full growth mode
Which
at
we
this
might
time.
see.
We might see that.
Because here,
Yeah, we get a lot of deer that we see.
We live in a magical forest.
Some other names of the full moon, though, from different Native American tribes, and I did not put in the notes like which ones they were from, just because it was going to be very verbose. But various Native American tribes throughout the country. Other names are the feather molting moon, the salmon moon, the berry moon, and the thunder moon.
Which, all right, two things. Salmon moon, I bet is
So
like
that's when
up
the
here
salmon,
in the Pacific Northwest.
yeah, when the salmon are coming down. Easy to
And
get
going-
it. Well, because the
going
bears
upriver?
are, yeah, the bears are out, right? Getting
Yeah.
the salmon. So they're doing their thing.
But for thunder moon,
That's has to do with weather, like monsoons and like
that makes sense.
thunderstorms.
But what went in my head when I read the notes
Mm-hmm.
was AC/DC Thunderstruck.
Yes, that's what it's from. It's because that's when actually Thunderstruck came out in 1984. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know when it came out.
I mean, I heard the music went immediately in my head.
Thunder. And berry moon, because berries are becoming ripe on plants. Like one was raspberry moon as well. So like we have some raspberry plant or some blackberry plants.
freaking cut it
There's
down.
more in the neighborhood. Ron says it's the Saguaro harvest moon for the Tohono O'odham nation here in Tucson. Saguaro fruit harvest moon. So, yeah, so a lot of the full moon names have to do with, what's going on in nature at that time in order to, like, I don't know, keep track of time and, like, be like, oh, here we go. Here's the season for this.
But it also shows just, like, how
In tune with nature? Oh.
cyclic, nature is.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
How, everything tends to happen
At certain
at
times of the
certain
year.
times.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's reasons why
Yeah.
it all happens at certain times of the year. But,
Mm-hmm.
so, I don't know. Nature is a big calendar.
Nature is a big calendar. Nature is the calendar of life.
Yeah, I mean, don't rely on Google.
Just look at nature.
Look at nature. And
Keep track of nature. It's hard to do because nature is mostly eroded by our human civilization. But anyway, that's another point for another story.
hangover. Because now we have more erosion.
So, again, those are what you can find in the evening sky for July. So keep your eyes out and, every now and then pop outside and look up and see what you can find out there and just enjoy what the earth and the universe has to bring you.
And if you live in a very light polluted area,
Get out of town.
And
Get out of there.
meet up with an astronomy group when
Look at star parties. There's star parties. Astronomical clubs are everywhere in every state and all around in cities and whatnot, and they usually like to host star parties all the time. And so check out any local star party where there are amateur astronomers with their telescopes that are more than happy. They are so excited to show you what you can see through the telescope.
They live to show you.
Yes, this is what they want to do. They are there to bring the universe to you and your eyeballs.
If and when we ever get our telescope, we're going to be doing the same thing.
All right, so
News.
I'm getting there. I'm leading it. I'm going. I was going to segue in.
You're doing the whole show. And so I only have little bits where I can jump in and out.
Ron makes a good point in our chat for those of you listening to the podcast. He says local astronomy clubs are a great way to get affordable access to really great equipment. This is true because telescopes are really expensive. The better the telescope, the more pricey it is.
Don't get your telescope from Target or Walmart. Get your clothes from there, but not your telescope.
You can go to a regular telescope brand website like Celestron or Meade, but also like High Point Scientific has good telescopes. But your local astronomy club, if you become a member, if you're interested, and for example, I was looking into the Eugene Astronomical Society which we will join. But they have for members, you can actually rent out a telescope. They have a catalog of telescopes that you can rent out and take out to use for a certain length of time to bring to a star party. You can use one of their scopes if you don't have it. So local astronomy clubs are a really great resource for that kind of thing, and just a resource in general to get involved into like astronomical observation and whatnot. I'm not even like halfway through. God, it's gonna be anyway. Astronomy news. Boop 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 boop. Astronomy news section, everybody. It's time for astronomy news here on Cosmos. I don't know what the accent that was, but it was an attempt.
I cannot wait to hear your attempts at Southern accents.
Oh my God, when we go to South Carolina, boy, oh boy. It's gonna turn, and my tolerance is back to 0. I'm sitting on a heating pad right now. Just
my mom is gonna be like, is she making fun of us?
It's gonna turn British. It's gonna be an amalgamation of bad British and bad Southern accent is what's gonna happen. So astronomy news. Speaking of Jupes, Jupiter's Great Red Spot is actually younger than train travel.
Wow!
It turns out. So it has been thought that Jupiter's Great Red Spot has been around for
hundreds of years.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
At least 400 years.
At least 400, at least 300, at least 400, somewhere around that, right? It's been around for a really long time, and that's because it was first recorded by Giovanni Cassini in 1665. This is after Galileo decided to point a telescope, it was a spyglass at the sky, like a fucking genius, even though he didn't invent the spyglass or / telescope. It was Lons.
He was a genius.
He was a genius. It was Lippershey that invented it, but Galileo was he was like, hey, why don't I take this thing and then just point it up in the sky and see what I can do with it? If you can see far with it,
but then wrote that shit down.
Yes, writing, very important. Writing things down, taking notes, very important. So Cassini observed this red spot by looking through telescope in 1665. But then after 1712, it seemed to disappear.
See, I did not know this.
Yeah, there were astronomers weren't making observations of it, basically. And then around 1831, observations started to happen of a great red spot. You could see it again, essentially. And so the question is the red spot that we see today the same one that Cassini observed? And it turns out, no, it's not the same red spot. Now, for context, the great red spot is a giant storm in Jupiter's atmosphere. It's like a hurricane-like storm in the atmosphere of Jupiter. So the new research is by Agustin Sanchez La Vega from the University of Basque Country in Bilbao, Spain. And they looked at historical observations and compared it with our modern observations of the Great Red Spot today. And Cassini spot is actually different. It's actually about 2 to 3 times smaller than the Great Red Spot was, which I'll talk about. Which I'll talk about in a second. Yeah, the modern Great Red Spot currently is the same size as Cassini's, but it was bigger. The Great Red Spot is shrinking. It has been observed to be shrinking, and now it's the same size as what Cassini had observed.
So maybe in 60 years it might be gone.
That's true. So, today's spot formed sometime during that 100 years after Cassini's death. And when that disappearance of the Great Red Spot happened. And they also concluded, because it was kind of not actually sure how the Great Red Spot formed. And so what the research also concluded, based on kind of different simulations of varying factors within Jupiter's atmosphere, that what forms the characteristics that we see today is that it was an interaction between adjacent bands of winds crossing Jupiter at different speeds that kind of caused the storm to happen. And at first it was very elongated, which observations from back in the 1800s show it being more elongated, and it has compacted and shrunk over time to how we see it today, is this more kind of like oval form.
This actually makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't like the idea
of the storm being around forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of infinities.
Yeah.
I have a tattoo of an infinity.
You don't like the idea of our love being infinite? Oh, wrong.
You showed the wrong love. No, that's different. But when it comes to physical things, I don't like the idea of infinities.
Right,
I don't like an infinite universe.
Right.
I don't like a red spot that has been around since the formation of Jupiter.
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't make sense anyway, being a storm. If we observe storms here on Earth or any other planet for that matter, they come and they go.
Nothing lasts forever. And so it's, I like the idea that
one storm appeared and it was large enough that it could be observed by Cassini, and then eventually it dissipated as that energy dwindled, and then you had other,
But I'm also liking even more that this storm is, at most 200, not even 200 years old.
Yeah.
And it's
still a long storm for Earth standards.
It's a long storm, but it feels more comfortable than a storm that's at least 400 years old.
Yes.
And so mm-hmm. and it's why I also like the idea that Saturn's rings are not
they're not going to be around forever, everybody.
No.
Spoiler alert.
But they're not.
And they weren't around forever, and they won't be around forever.
But they're here now.
Yeah.
And we get
a window. We're in the window of the Saturn rings.
We get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so
we like it, so we put a ring on it. We didn't put a ring on it.
No. Some moon did. I'm just going to break it up and... A moon
really loves Saturn. And it was like, I love you. I'm gonna put a ring around you.
Put a ring on it. But yeah, so just enjoy things because nothing's permanent. They come and go. Nothing's permanent. Rings of planets, storms on planets. Thankfully,
U.S. presidencies. Anyway,
so probably Zeus. Yeah. Zeus didn't put a ring on anything. He was just. Anyway.
No, he put a ring on Hera. Anyway, that's a whole
different...
One thing. Yeah. So Jupiter's Great Red Spot, not the same red spot from Cassini. Yeah. Let's imagine. Federico makes a good point in chat. Let's imagine what we have missed, like rings around Earth, etc. Like the things
in the early days.
Yeah. Maybe, when the moon formed, or as the solar system was forming, and eventually all that material conglomerated. I guess conglomerate is the word of the day. Onto the planet.
You're feeling that beer.
I'm totally feeling this beer, but that's Cosmos for you. That's the point of the show. And also all the other various storms on Jupiter, not only Jupiter, but Saturn and Neptune, and maybe Uranus had a lot more storms in the past, and we're seeing it in a very quiet, stormy era, and we're like, why doesn't Uranus have a lot of storms? But maybe it did before.
Yeah, like Neptune's great dark spot.
It disappeared. It doesn't have it right now. Or maybe I have a little one. No, I don't think it has any. I think it had one, and then it was like...
It was like with Voyager. Voyager took the picture, and now...
And now it doesn't have it.
All right.
I know, yeah. Imagine the things that we have missed. But it's cool that we get to see the things that are happening now.
Yeah, so enjoy what there is.
Speaking of things that we missed, the formation of the universe.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, and our galaxy.
I thought you said formation of the Earth, and I was like, wait a minute.
Universe and our galaxy. So this next bit of astronomy news come from Scientific American. By the way, that first one, I didn't write down where it came from, where I got the data. But a dazzling new Milky Way map shows how magnetism shapes our galaxy. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is from the Villanova University by physicist David T. Chuss. They used the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, or SOFIA. RIP Sophia. As of September 2022, we have an episode or a shot about Sophia. I can't remember when we started shots, so take a drink for Sophia. Sophia was a telescope mounted on an airplane, people.
In a fucking airplane.
It was a telescope mounted on an airplane that flew at 45,000 feet to do astronomy. Fucking amazing. Fucking amazing. And it's been shuttered. It's not going anymore. But a lot of great astronomical research came from it, such as this. So 4 years of research produced this new map of the galaxy's center, and interstellar dust 500 light years from Earth interacts with the Milky Way's magnetic field is what they were observing. So magnetic fields, they cause light waves emitted by dust to orient in particular ways, giving that light a property called polarization. Mm-hmm. All right, so it's like
we're all oriented the same way.
Wibbly wonky stuff. And so measuring that polarization can then reveal the magnetism that's behind it. So this Villanova physicist, Dylan Paré, and his colleagues converted the telescope's data into segments that are suitable for a visual representation. And then Caitlin Karpovich, then an undergraduate student, by the way, crafted a colorful background for using additional telescopes data and dust temperatures and dispersion. So this image, you can Google it online. I don't have the image to share with you right now because I didn't take the time to put it into this, but if you're listening on podcast only, you can't see it anyway. So you can Google this. It's actually quite a beautiful image where the colors symbolize the different particle temperatures. So in the image, blue and purple will indicate cold and warm dust, and yellow denotes hot gas, and then you have these small swirling gray lines, and those are the magnetic field lines. And essentially what this map does, is it helps scientists investigate when and why dust clouds in our galaxy collapsed to form stars. And so it's how that polarization, how the magnetism has helped the Milky Way, all the dust and gas in our galaxy collapse to form stars. Because at the end of the day, a galaxy, what it is, it's like an island of stars. It's an island formation of stars. And if you don't have stars, you kind of really don't have a galaxy.
Right. Just keep talking.
He's trying to pull up the image right now, which I could have, if I downloaded it and then I was like, I'm not going to show the image. I don't know if it'll.
All right, keep talking.
Okay, you just show it like that. Just pull it up, show it like that.
All right.
Try to, there you go. So there you go. So the yellow, hot gas, and the cold and blue and purple, colder. And then there's some magnetic waves in there. So, I don't know. I think that's really cool, is just using a telescope mounted on an airplane to try and understand, like, kind of how our galaxy formed. How all that dust and gas is interacting and collapsing to form stars within it. I just think it's neat. Oh, you got a better picture? Oh, yeah, look at that. It's pretty cool. It's beautiful.
It is pretty cool.
It's beautiful. All right, bringing it a little bit closer to home. This article that I found from NPR. China has just returned the first ever samples from the far side of the moon.
And they're very excited about that.
They should be very excited about it, because we don't have samples from the far side of the moon. We have sent, and when I say we, I mean the U.S. has sent astronauts to the near side of the moon, and we brought samples back from the near side of the moon. And those Apollo era samples, they have told us basically that, hey, the moon, weirdly, it's made of actually a lot of the same stuff as the Earth, but also some stuff that's not the same stuff as the Earth. So what this has indicated is that the moon formed after an object had collided with the Earth, and that debris coming off the Earth and this object formed together into our moon very rapidly during the formation of our solar system. And that object that collided with Earth is known as Theia. About a Mars-sized object is what they're estimating. Not Mars, but a Mars-sized object, which is about half the size of the Earth. Is Mars about half the size of the Earth?
Yeah, it's about half. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that debris, which is a mix of those materials, came together rapidly to form our moon. Good thing it did, because life on Earth might not be here today without it. Anyway, however, okay, though that information is all based on samples taken from the near side of the moon. Now, the near side of the moon is vastly different than the far side of the moon. The near side of the moon, we see less cratering, and we see the bunny in the moon, or the face in the moon, which are these darker areas called mare. They're these ancient lava flows on that near side, whereas the far side of the moon doesn't have that. It's largely cratered, heavily cratered, I should say, and it doesn't have these lava flooded plains all over it.
The crust on the far side is thicker than the crust on the near side.
So,
mystery. It's a mystery, guys.
It is a mystery. So Jim Head, who's a planetary scientist at Brand University, he says this is a critical issue because you can't understand the origin of a planet or a moon with just one hemisphere. Right? You need data. You need data from the entire place, right? You need to know, okay, what does that far side of the moon tell us? And so China, they sent the Chang'e 6 lander to the far side in early June of last year, which is hard to do. There's a reason why we haven't sent a lot of spacecrafts to the far side of the moon, because only one side of the moon faces the Earth. And so going to the far side of the moon means that you lose communication with what you send there. So they relied on a satellite orbiting the moon in order to relay that signal. So that satellite would kind of orbit around the moon, pick up the signal, and then once it came back around the other side of the moon, send it back to Earth. So it could communicate. So it's very difficult. This lander used this sort of drill and scoop method to collect samples from a lava flow in an area known as the South Pole Atkin Basin. And those samples haven't been analyzed yet, but they should.
But it just got here.
It just got here. So it should confirm whether or not that sort of Apollo era hypothesis at this point, hypothesis that the moon formed from this after this giant impact.
Okay, well that's probably theory at this point. What's the hypothesis is, did it form quickly?
So did it form quickly? Okay. So that is what it should do. However, if it doesn't, if these samples end up being kind of like different than the near side of the moon, then guess what, textbooks? Time to be rewritten. And luckily, China will share at least some of the new moon samples. Not all of it, but it will share some of the samples with the U.S. and other nations. So,
but I mean, kudos
that's
to
something.
China.
That's something. They don't have to share it.
No.
You know. But
technically, NASA doesn't have to share either. But
that's true. But they do.
They have to share with U.S. scientists.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same way in China.
Yeah, but they are going to share. They are going to share some of the data with us. So it'll be interesting to see what these far side samples reveal. It should be like a Far Side comic that has to do. Anyway, okay. Anyway, moving on. Another bit of news this is from the article I found on Live Science. James Webb, at it again, of course, always. It reveals a new understanding of how galaxies formed at cosmic dawn, which is the beginning of the universe, early universe, like right after the Big Bang, basically, once things started coming together. So what it observed is 5 extremely dense protoglobular clusters. So globular clusters we mentioned before with M30 and Capricornus, god damn it, Capricornus are old ass stars. So these are also old ass stars, just slightly older ass stars, basically, that are hanging out in an early galaxy. They are the earliest star clusters in the universe. They formed, they're part of a galaxy called the Cosmic Gem Arc, which I'll explain in a second why it's called that. But this galaxy formed just 460 million years after the Big Bang. That is early. That is early.
That is really early.
That's a short time. That is a short time after the Big Bang. So it's called this because we observe this hair-thin crescent that is of this galaxy. It's just like this little arc of a crescent, and that's due to the gravitational influence of a foreground galaxy. So there's a galaxy in the foreground that is sort of magnifying and distorting this other galaxy behind it. It's called gravitational lensing. So we can actually see the galaxy behind it because of how the galaxy in the foreground is distorting space-time, basically. And it's very confusing when you think about it, but that's how we can see it. And the point of observing these protoglobular clusters in this cosmic gem arc galaxy is to really understand how these earliest galaxies formed. So Angela Adamo, she's an astronomer at Stockholm University. She says that in the early universe, galaxies are more luminous and they form stars at breakneck speed, and they do so in massive and dense star clusters. And so we're building a new understanding of how these early galaxies formed. And to form these 5 star clusters, this tiny galaxy had to do so with very high efficiency. And so the stellar feedback from the stars in the star clusters must have been tremendous.
Okay.
So there's a lot of energy that is going on in the formation of these early galaxies and these early star clusters. So basically, the host galaxy of these star clusters needs to be capable of creating and retaining enough mass in gas. So it all depends on how fast primordial galaxies can grow. So they have to have. So stars form from gas and dust. So these galaxies have to be able to hold in all this gas and dust to have all this star formation happening at such a fast pace.
Right.
You have a ton of it that is there. So this isn't conclusive evidence. They're going to follow up with a spectroscopic analysis using James Webb Space Telescope, and this will further help them identify physical properties, refine the ages, and the impact of the star cluster on kind of the wider galaxy as a whole.
Okay.
So it's exciting. Yeah.
It is exciting.
Cool. Okay. You got anything more to add to that?
No.
No? Okay, cool. Next, and this is from MIT News, waves on Titan may be strong enough to erode the coastline of its seas. Now, I did not realize this, but the thought of waves on Titan. So, okay, just a little preamble, I forgot. So Titan, which is the largest moon of Saturn, has lakes and seas and rivers on its surface. In fact, it's the only other body in our solar system, aside from the Earth, to have liquid lakes and seas and rivers on its surface. However, these lakes and rivers and seas, these bodies of liquid, are not made of water as the Earth ones are. Instead, they are made of hydrocarbons such as methane and ethane. So you don't want to go swimming in them.
No,
not gonna be good. So with the lakes and rivers and seas that you see on Earth, we have a lot of waves that happen within them. But there's been a controversy on if there are actual waves in these bodies of liquid on Titan, which I didn't realize there was a controversy over if there are waves. In fact, I never even thought about waves in these bodies. of liquid on Titan.
What creates them? Winds and
well,
stuff
possibly. And... So we know that there are bodies of liquid methane and ethane on Titan due to the Cassini satellite that was sent to Saturn in 2007. So MIT geologists, they use simulations, computer simulations, because the visual data, some scientific teams said they saw waves, and then others said they didn't. That I always say surfaces, but that like these areas of liquid looked smooth in the data. So there's this controversy over it. So these MIT geologists are like, well, let's put it to computers, and they put in different simulations on what could make the shorelines look as they do. And they modeled 4 ways in which lakes can erode here on Earth, and they then applied that to Titan. It's a planetary comparidology. I don't know how to say it.
You did
but
good.
That's what it is. So they focused on 4 large seas on Titan. The Kraken Mare, which is as large as the Caspian Sea here on Earth. The Ligeia Mare, which is larger than Lake Superior. The Punga Mare, which is longer than Lake Victoria. And Ontario Lacus, which is about 20% the size of Lake Ontario. And it turns out that waves were the most likely explanation for that erosion. Cool. It's not conclusive, however, because again, this is just computer simulations based on what we see here on Earth. So what's really going to cement this data is direct observation of wave activity on the surface. So we need to basically see it happening.
Right. Which is a little hard right now.
Which is hard, yeah. We need to actually... And in order to see it happening, we're going to have to send a spacecraft there.
Especially since Cassini's not there.
Yeah, Cassini's not there anymore. So, and there is that still in the works? That spacecraft that's supposed to go to Titan?
Oh, I don't know.
There was one that was supposed to go Titan and actually float in one of its lakes or
that'd be fun.
Seas or something.
That'd be fun.
So we need the direct observation for that. But the presence of waves could help provide information on the climate, the strengths of winds that are needed to produce those waves, and explain the fundamental things about how coasts erode without, guess what, the influence of people. And maybe that can help us kind of better manage our coastlines on Earth in the future.
Yeah.
So again, planetary comparative.
Well, you compare what you see there, and try to find. Oh, you see stuff there, and you try to find an answer based on what you see here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, look, people, the Earth itself. I mean, we are the main data point for all these various sort of
we only got one data
processes, point. Right? So in fact, when we sent Cassini to Saturn, it also had a little lander on board named the Huygens probe. Huygens lander
landed on Titan.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Right.
It landed on Titan, and it took pictures. We actually got some pictures of the surface of Titan, and what it saw were these rocks. And the rocks, though, when they looked at them, they were smooth. And it was very similar to rocks that we would find at the bottom of lakes and riverbeds here on Earth. And so that those images then helped us conclude that, hey, Titan actually does have lakes and rivers on its surface that cause this type of erosion.
Right.
And we could do that by comparing what we were seeing with what we know based on here on Earth and those processes, because those processes aren't going to be different. They're going to be, if a rock looks a certain way, if it's eroded a certain way, it's going to be, it's not like some weird different process is taking place on Titan. It's going to be a similar situation. Because physics, people.
Exactly.
Physics. All right, last article here is the U.S. government recently completed an asteroid impact preparedness exercise because asteroids are a threat to our planet and the life that is on it. More so
Just
the life
ask
that's
dinosaurs.
on it. Yeah, they're an issue, people, and they have been and they will be because there's a lot of miscellaneous rocks and shit floating out in space. I should say floating, but gravitationally moving about in space. And sometimes they get a little too close. And sometimes, yes, ask the dinosaurs, they hit us and cause things to happen that aren't great.
Just
For whatever's living here. So this was actually the 5th exercise. And it's like it was a tabletop exercise, which I just imagine like all these like officials just playing like Magic the Gathering with asteroids.
Yeah.
Like they're having their own like D&D asteroid session or something. But really what it was to create like the simulation to kind of assess our ability to respond to an asteroid or a comet that decides to like come our direction. And this one, though, was the first exercise to actually use data from NASA's DART mission.
Hey.
And the DART mission was designed as an asteroid redirect test. So we basically built a spacecraft purposely to slam into an asteroid or the moon of an asteroid, because asteroids can have moons, in order to see if it affected it in any way. And it turns out it did. It actually moved it a little bit. And it moved it enough where, okay, this is something that could possibly be used to slightly nudge an asteroid out of the path of the Earth and causing it to miss us instead of hit us, which would be really important, right? However, the actual application of said technique would take years of advanced planning, so we need to be well notified ahead of time of said asteroids, incoming path towards the Earth, collision with the Earth kind of thing. So the scenario that they set in this hypothetical exercise is that there would be a 72% chance of an asteroid that may hit Earth in 14 years. So this is the scenario they gave themselves. The requirements for area if it should impact. So that means big bada boom, lots of dead people, is what that means. So the takeaways from this exercise were that a 14-year timeline actually complicates decision making, and left for a lot of like uncertainties, and they're kind of lacking on the capabilities to obtain better information about an asteroid with the 14-year notice. They came to the conclusion that they needed clear support for international collaboration at all stages of the process.
Right.
So everybody around the world needs to work together. We can't have our little squabbles.
Which has worked out really well.
We're really great at working together around the world.
We do it.
We do it really great.
You see it every day.
They found that the decision-making processes and risk tolerance were not really understood. They had limited readiness to quickly implement needed space missions. And that the timely global coordination of messaging kind of needed further attention. And the asteroid impact disaster management plans were really not well defined. So it sounds like it was a kind of like, if we know an asteroid's going to impact us in 14 years, we don't have our shit together.
No, we don't.
And had trouble getting our shit together for this.
Yep.
It doesn't sound like it was very
about
good.
Right.
Doesn't sound good.
Sounds about right.
So I would say at the end of the day, we just need to learn how to work together.
Isn't that what we tell toddlers?
Yes. You know what? Maybe all leaders of the world need
toddlers?
to go back to kindergarten. Put them in a kindergarten class and have them just learn the basic fundamentals, sharing, sharing is caring, cooperating on the playground,
Right.
taking turns,
All right.
Cool. All right. So science be wild, y'all. What?
Nothing. All right.
All right. We do have an in memoriam section this side. Oh, Katie says her preschoolers, when she was in the classroom, understood these concepts better than they do. They really do. It's like something happens when we become adults. Anyway, we do have some in memoriams while we've been gone. The first one is an in memoriam to William Anders, Apollo 8 astronaut and lunar module pilot. He was actually killed in a plane crash off the San Juan Islands on June 7th. He was 90 years old.
Wow.
Cheers to William Anders. Thank you for your service. He was in the Apollo 8 mission in 1968. He was one of the first 3 people to travel to the moon, along with Frank Borman and James Lovell. And he took the iconic, the iconic Earthrise image. So it's a picture from the surface of the moon with the Earth.
No, they're flying over the moon.
Oh, they're flying over the moon, and the Earth is rising.
Yeah.
The Earth is rising over the limb of the moon. So it's a very iconic image. And he also founded the Heritage Flight Museum in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Which is very cool. So thank you, William Anders, for, again, your service and a life well lived. In space. Our second in memoriam is for Ed Stone, former director of JPL and Voyager project scientist. He died on June 8th at the age June 9th, at the age of 88 years old.
Right.
He served on 9 NASA missions as either principal investigator or a science instrument lead, and on 5 others as a co-investigator. And he served as Voyager's sole project scientist from 1972 until his retirement in 2022.
86.
Oh my God. And then he was also, during that time, he was the director of JPL from 1991 to 2001.
Wow.
So thank you, Ed Stone. Cheers.
Cheers.
Amazing contributions to the exploration of our solar system.
Yeah. The Voyagers and a bunch of other ones.
I know. So, anyway, that's our high in the sky for July. A lot of stuff you can see in the night sky, and as always, just a lot of cool science and space shit that's come out, because we're constantly learning about our universe and our place within it and how things happen and how things work, and it's
James
important.
Webb's gonna keep showing us stuff, and maybe Chang.
James, oh yeah, it'll be exciting to see what the sample analysis is of Changi. Or Chang, I don't know. There's an apostrophe with the E, and I'm like, I don't know how to do it. But yeah, James Webb. James Webb has not stopped providing just new science, new. Oh my God, shit. And also, if you Google that article with the James Webb and the new understanding of how galaxies form, there is an image involved, and it's this larger image. And then there's this tiny square around this very faint little wisp. And then you zoom in, and it's oh, here are the clusters. Here are the mirrored version of it because of gravitational lensing. And it's holy shit. People are looking at just these tiny little specks in an image from James Webb. And from those little specks in an image, figuring out, oh, hey, here's the early universe.
Yeah. Yeah, you're able to really zoom into all the detail.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of High in the Sky. Follow us on all the things at Drinking Cosmos on Twitter and Cosmos with Cosmos everywhere else. We will be back with another live episode on July 21st after a little bit of another hiatus. You know what? The trials of Mount Doom are never done. We constantly are having to save Middle Earth from one thing or another, and that's because the Eagles just aren't any help. We'll see you next time. Thank you guys for following us on all the things.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.
If you're with us now live on YouTube, stick around. We will be right back with The Hangover with Cosmos. We'll see you in a few.
The whole time.
We lost internet during that break for a brief second, so we should be back now. It
Hopefully
appears to.
People are still with us.
Yeah, we still maybe have people hanging out. So, welcome to The Hangover with Cosmos, where we just shoot the shit, basically, and have no direction, no game plan, and all that good stuff. I don't know if
You are back. So Ron says we're back, but this isn't updating.
So all right, we'll rely on looking at just the stream image for that chat. It says that it wasn't able to connect, but that's okay. Hey everyone out there, TV land, remember like Nick at Night?
Okay.
Anyway, so when I think about TV land, it's like Nick at Night and the good.
Isn't there like a channel called TV Land?
I think there might be a TV Land
that
channel.
Shows like all this
but I
old
think
stuff.
but I think now, instead of it being like I Love Lucy and I Dream of Jeannie and Green Gables or whatever. She says we're back. It's now like
Green Gables.
it's now like I think
Green
like
Acres?
Green Acres.
But there's like a Gables. Oh, is that like one of the
Anne of Green Gables? That's what I was mixing with. Green Acres or Bewitched. It's now I think like Roseanne and like not the new Roseanne, but like the older, like the original Roseanne and like.
Well, now
like
it's
more,
called the Connors because they ditched Roseanne.
But because she's nutty. But it's like now just like more thing that I would consider more modern shows, but I guess now they're the same probably time frame as like Bewitched was to me as a child.
Oh, got you.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Yeah, like they're now that vintage. It's like
vintage TV. So
vintage TV.
You're old.
Yeah, like what was it on, guys? It was the Friday nights thing. Oh, TGIF, and he had God, what was on TGIF? It was you had Mr. Cooper was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
God, I can't remember the other TGIF shows.
Yeah, I don't know.
That I think those ones are now on. Whatever the TGIF shows were now on.
TV Land.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Nickelodeon when Snick on Nickelodeon, and it was Roundhouse, Are You Afraid of the Dark, all that, and stuff. And I found Are You Afraid of the Dark on it was on some streaming platform that Are You Afraid of the Dark is on, and I gotta watch some of those episodes just to see, because there was one episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, it was the Zebo the Clown episode, that I remember actually scaring kind of like the crap out of me. Oh, Ron says Full House, Family Ties. Okay, yeah. God, Full House
On TV Land.
Oh man, gosh,
Time.
I'm so old. What happens to like the I Love Lucy's and
they're still there.
Bewitched?
They're all still there.
Can't wait for when it's like when all the Gen Z TV shows are now on the, like, you know, the TV lands. It'll be like what the God, I don't know any of the shows. Vampire Diaries. I don't.
I mean, we just stream our TV. We don't have like actual.
Yeah, I know we don't have cable. We just have streaming. We just have various streaming platforms, which are all kind of combining to try and make it in one thing. And I'm like, guys, this is just what cable was.
Yeah.
Why are we like, the whole point of streaming was to have these different avenues of.
But it might be cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, just go back to cable. But then,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because I mean, we're paying for all these different things, all these streaming services. It ends up being the same cost as like cable, but
yeah, but then things are like, you can watch it when you watch it instead of waiting for like 6 p.m. on a Thursday night or something and trying to see like, oh no, do I have anything
right? But your parents
that I'm doing?
Your parents just record all that stuff. But then you have to
well, now you can record it, but back in the day you couldn't record it.
Yeah.
It was either you were there to watch it or you missed it and had to wait for like the rerun to pop up.
That's why, was it TiVo?
Whenever
so
oh God, I remember when TiVo came out. This is the nostalgia episode of Hangover with Hangover. I remember when TiVo came out. I was working at CwC in Pleasanton, California. And TiVo was like the new thing.
Yeah, but then cable was like, oh, we got to compete with that.
Yeah, so then cable companies came out with their own DVR abilities, you know.
Where you could, like...
which my dad uses for On Patrol
50 shows.
Live. Yeah, Ron says, hell yeah, Liz, let's get old. Woo!
Wait, who said that?
Ron said that.
Oh, yeah. Wow, welcome to the club.
Getting all time. Check out our episode on time, everybody, and
Yeah.
how it passes, and that it's a weird thing.
Time is a very weird thing.
Time is. It is, you know, I think Doctor Who is very apt for the wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Because it is very wibbly wobbly.
Time.
Even though you think it's in a straight arrow, in a straight line. But, you know, it's really, it is weird when you.
Yeah, it's, yeah, and it doesn't flow the same for everybody. Though it all seems to flow in the same direction, it doesn't flow at the same rate.
But then I think, like, and then for us humans, like, we take time, and then we add this aspect of nostalgia to it, where then we want to relive different time. Like if you look at fashion trends and how fashion trends, like, there's some new stuff, but then there's also majority of fashion trends end up reverting back to previous fashion trends or are like slightly altered versions of a previous fashion trend.
Yeah, well, we forget the bullshit of the earlier time.
Yeah, well, we look at images. People, we can look at what the 1990s looked like. Why Why are we bringing some of that back? We can see the pictures.
But you see, I read it in the 90s and the 70s.
I don't know. There could be some 70s stuff that looks good. What about the Well, we haven't brought back 80s hairspray hairstyles yet, so that's a plus. That's a plus. Also, because of this, just the hairspray effect on the environment is not great.
Yeah, but we tend to forget the bullshit, and so it's like having kids. You forget, like moms forget the pain of childbirth,
and then they have more.
We're gonna have more babies, and then you just forget that, But it's like my parents, the nostalgia of the 50s and the 60s. You just forget the bullshit of that time, like the racism that was rampant, the Vietnam War, and all that kind of stuff that was going on. And so you want to return to that because also you just feel like things are moving too quickly right now.
Yeah. But also in your youth, you're not also aware of like some of that other larger bullshit in your youth. You're not aware of things,
But my parents in the 60s at least were aware of it. And so...
sorry, my mom in chat says my mom says when I was 5, I watched Lassie. And I remember watching Lassie as a child as well.
Lassie.
I liked watching Lassie.
On whatever the version of TV Land was at that time. Yeah. Yeah. So, in the reruns?
Yeah. And then I go, oh God, like the the younger gen, I think they're called are they called Zoomers? Zennials, Zoomers. I've heard Zoomers.
For who?
Gen Z. Do they know Lassie?
They're going to hate that.
Like, they don't know Lassie.
Because that's so close to boomers. Zoomers and
I've
boomers.
heard Zoomers, so I don't know if Zoomers is a thing or what it is. But it's like, oh God, you don't know Lassie? The newer generations don't know Lucille Ball and her comedic fucking genius that she was. Zoomers or Gen Z. I love it. I love it.
As much as I
take
hate
that
boomers.
from a geriatric millennial. Ha ha. AKA elder millennial.
No, geriatric.
I mean, at this rate, with how my sciatic nerve is treating me, I might as well be. Give me a walker. I remember I would play, my grandma had a walker, and I would play ice cream shop in her walker. So her walker would be my ice cream shop.
But she couldn't come to
you
because you had a walker.
Well, I never thought about that. Oh, no. Oh my God,
ice cream.
My sister says that she heard there were some Gen Z who don't know who Justin Timberlake is. And Zoomer might stick because of school via Zoom during COVID. I'm sorry, there are Zoomers who don't know who JT is. They do now. And they're like, who the fuck is this old boy band guy?
Him? Because he got busted for DUI, right? Yeah. So why are we worried about him?
For apparently having one drink, which one bartender said was all alcohol, but whatever.
Well,
I mean, it's fine. That's wild, not knowing who.
I mean, you can have one drink and have it just be like
rock
Everclear,
you.
and
just have it just totally rock you and not.
And you don't know if he ate that day.
Yeah.
So
that was a shock because you think of him as being more of one of the like goody two shoes ones in a sense of like,
wasn't he like
not
Britney Spears?
Yeah, him and Britney Spears had a thing. I guess in Britney Spears. Why are we? This is a very off topic.
Said it was nostalgic
hangover, but I guess in Britney Spears's which Britney Spears became famous with "Hit Me Baby One More Time" when I was in middle school. But I guess she had gotten pregnant and then had an abortion from him.
Oh wow!
And everything. So that's interesting.
Wow.
Think about, but I mean, as an adult now, looking back on Britney Spears, it's like, oh yeah, of course she went batshit. Of course she lost her mind.
Yeah, well,
she was not taken care of mentally or any way, shape, or form.
Most of these child actors, they can't handle the fame, and then when the fame dries up because they're not a child actor anymore, They can't handle that.
Well, and they're exposed to this whole culture of underground that's not appropriate for children to be exposed to.
Parents see them as a cash cow, or at least a lot of parents do. And so,
yeah, they're totally. It's amazing the few child stars that have like come out like just totally like okay and like have been. But at least like Drew Barrymore, she had a huge issue with like drugs and everything. And, she's obviously gotten past it and been able to become successful on her own.
Elijah Wood seems like he's turned out
Elijah
okay.
Wood, he seemed to avoid all that bullshit and had like a good compass, moral compass or whatever that was instilled in him, or at least people around him that helped him not.
Yeah, like River Phoenix died. Will Wheaton had a rough go.
Yeah.
But that was, shit out of his control. But Will Wheaton turned out okay. Johnny Depp is a clusterfuck. Johnny
Depp is oh god, he's problematic, but also Johnny Depp, so it's hard to. Federico said his new colleague is 20 years old, half his age. Yeah, people in the 20s, they need jobs. They're coming into the world. When I started in Planetarium, I was, God, what year was that? 2010?
You were 28?
In 2010?
No, 2010. No, you were 25. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, 2010 is 25.
Yeah, I was 25 when I started in the Planetarium. And just with... It's weird thinking back when you're in your mid to late 20s, because you think at that point, okay, I'm grown up and adult enough. But then I think once I hit my 30s, I was like, oh God, now I'm adult and grown up enough. Well, but now in my late 30s, I'm like, oh God, now I'm adult and grown up enough.
Well, when you're 25, you just at that point understand yourself.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I think in your late 20s, that's when you kind of start to figure yourself out. In your early 20s, you're still a child.
You're not even thinking about being an adult at that point. You have just figured out who you are. And then you can start thinking about just the whole idea
our
of being
society,
an adult.
and this is, God, what a hangover. Okay, so our society, I, as a female, as a woman in our society, and this is American society for those of you that aren't American, Federico, or a woman, but it was ingrained in me, okay, by 25... I need to be married and have like a child.
At least one kid.
Yeah, at least, yeah. It was like, okay, that is the plan, and like I gotta adhere to that plan, which I did part of that. I did part of that, getting married a little bit too early, but also part of me is happy I did, even though it didn't work out. Part of me is happy that I did, because at least my grandpa could be like a part of that wedding and everything. So I look back and go, oh, okay, so Papa got to be a part of it. Even though it would be best if he was a part of our wedding, because, oh God, he would have loved you. Oh, can you imagine Katie and my mom, Papa would love Mike. Anyway, this Mike. Anyway, but, oh God, way too young. When I think back on it.
It was like, all right, so I was talking to my parents today, because I'm not going to talk to them enough in 10 days, but, or 11 days, whatever it is. But we're talking about my sister, and I brought up that it's just, it's idiotic to go to any 18-year-old and go, what do you want to do for the rest of your life?
Oh my God.
You haven't figured out who you are.
I had no clue.
There's a reason why you have so many people switch majors.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, I think I'll do this, but then like, oh.
It's because they get a couple of years into it and they're like, no, I don't want to do it.
Time.
But, I think colleges also bank on that, literally and figuratively, because they know that these kids are going to change their majors, and it just means more money for them. And it's just dumb to ask an 18-year-old.
I mean, there's some that definitely know what they're going to do.
My mom
but
knew exactly what she was going to do, and she did it. My dad completely changed careers at the age of 36.
Yeah.
And he told me that age.
Yeah, I mean, I had no clue.
So I think, get out of high school, take a gap year or 2.
Okay, so just a couple things in chat. So Ron says, sounds like growing up in Mormon land, except the marriage age expectations much. Yeah, Mormons being married at like 18 when it's legal, and I'm sure they would prefer even younger, but they got to follow federal guidelines on the legal age of marriage. That's insane. And then Federico says, here, as you may know, which we do not, Federico, know anything about Italian culture other than pasta. Here in Italy, pizza,
volcanoes,
Napoleonic
Romans.
Pizza, yeah. Here in Italy, the normal age for leaving the parents' house is 30-something.
Wait a minute, what?
Least 30-something. Leaving the parents' house is at least 30-something in the past 40 years. That is amazing.
Federico just left his parents 10 years ago?
Well, I don't know about Federico, but he's just saying that that's the cultural norm. Which would, I mean, yeah, because when you're 18, it's like as soon as, here in America, it's like as soon as 18, it's like, oh, you're an adult, you can go find a war, get the fuck out, figure your life out, get a job, go to college or whatever, get your thing. And it's like, as an 18-year-old, you don't know what the fuck is happening. And even in your like mid 20s, you're like, what's happening? Like for example, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my skills were really. I didn't have any kind of like, any kind of like mentors or guidance in that kind of realm. And so that's why I kind of stagnated a bit and was like just kind of like being shit at community college and didn't go into real college because I didn't want to take the SATs and didn't know what to do. And then it wasn't until where I was in a community college and was like, oh, maybe I can become like a teacher. And I really I had some affirmation by some teachers that I was like, oh, okay, here's a skill I am good at, kind of thing. But then I didn't know anything about the planetarium world until I got a job in the planetarium in my pursuit of a degree in education, where then I was like, oh shit, this is fun. This is what I love. Talking about space all day to just random people. And it was like, oh yeah, okay. And so that is what I then was like, oh, okay, I can do this shit.
Yeah.
And totally then didn't even do what my degree was for, because I then stayed within the planetarium field.
Right.
And that was in my late 20s by that point, where I was like, okay.
Oh, but see, I can relate to that, though. I can all right, so I get a job in a planetarium, Gibbs Planetarium, which I'll show you where that is in 2 weeks. And then that's in Columbia, South Carolina. And then all right, so go get a degree in physics, and you're like, okay, I need to take a year off just because of this mathematics that I had to endure.
The math got too much to you. The math wore you down.
Okay, but where I went to school, they did have basically math for physicists, and it was the math that you were going to use. So the physics department worked with the math department and offered this class where this is the math you're going to see your senior year of college and of physics degree. Well, I was just at the right time where they canceled that class, and so they canceled the class.
Oh God, I hate it when fucking
so
schools do
what
that
ended
shit.
up happening was the physics department said you still have to take this class. It no longer exists. But what we're going to do is we are going to create that class. So it's now going to be a physics offered class. And I had to take that class at the exact same time that I am seeing all this shit in quantum physics and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was a nightmare of a year. It was an exhausting year because you didn't have the mathematics to be able to do the class that you are required to take to graduate, and it was a rough year. So the idea was, I'm going to take a year off and then just relax a little bit, and then I'm going to go back to school. And at that point, I had decided that I wanted to go into high energy physics, and so basically work at a CERN or you know, Fermilab and that type of thing.
A collider.
Yeah, a collider somewhere. I wanted to run shit together. I want to
collide really small shit
basically
together.
make car wrecks out of protons and stuff. But I was like, okay, so I enjoyed working at a planetarium. I want to get that job. I want to be in a planetarium. So I looked locally, and locally was Roper Mountain, which was in Greenville, South Carolina, which was literally just 30 minutes away. So it wasn't far, but they weren't hiring or anything. And so
it was a niche market.
So the guy that was there, Rick, is now in Twin Falls in Idaho.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay.
Which I do remind
Rick.
him of this every once in a while.
That's funny. Oh wow.
So that didn't work out,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, I'd been to Phoenix. I went to Phoenix in the wintertime.
Well,
And
that's
so
a misleading
skews.
time to go to Phoenix.
It skews how you see it. And so I call up Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, and I was like, do you guys have a planetarium? And they're like, no, but we're building one. Here's the information, contact information. And I called up, and I got a job there. And, I have been waiting to go back to grad school for high energy physics now since 1997. December of 1996, actually. Well, December of 97 since I gave it a year. But, it's, and I haven't gone back. There is a certain magic that is being in a round room with a curved ceiling, a captive audience, and being able to just talk about astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody loves astronomy. Everybody looks at the sky and
Does everybody
wonder.
love astronomy?
I think they do.
We could say that with
Yeah, I even like super religious people that we can't relate to.
Mm-hmm.
They make a connection to the universe. And is this boring you?
No, it's the beer.
So they connect to the universe in a way that's different than I connect to the universe, but we still connect to the same things that are up there, and so we all have that connection, and we just interpret things a little bit differently. And I see it as I don't know how the universe playing out, whatever, just an amazing thing about the universe, and they see it as an invisible sky daddy.
Invisible sky daddy.
That made it happen.
I wonder what they make of the Dorito chip of the sky. Check out our main episode of High in the Sky for July 2024, where we talk about the Dorito chip of the sky, aka Capricornus, not Copernicus. Capricornus.
Well, I'm sure that there is some sort of connection that they will make, and how God made an orderly universe, ignoring the fact that the Earth wobbles and but still, even that wobble, it has a certain orderness to it, right? Every 26,000 years, whatever it is. Are we still?
No, I'm reading Ron's comment because our other chat screen is not working, so we have to rely on what's being shown
Which I can't even
in
see.
the screen. So then I have to look at our actually YouTube studio one to see Ron's full comment. Ron says, catching up, I have projects at Kitt Peak National Observatory, and he's making a planetarium show about the Gemini International Observatory office is in Tucson, and it's pretty hot. So, yeah.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Ron, it's pretty cool. I did when I was working in the planetarium at a place that shall be named not named. Well, should be unnamed. I was lucky.
Nameless. We don't say
yes,
his name.
They're
Voldemort.
It's Voldemort. It's Voldemort. I was lucky enough to get this sort of professional development grant thing that allowed me to take an astrophotography seminar at Kitt Peak University, Kitt Peak Observatory. So I got to spend a weekend at Kitt Peak, which we had gone separately for a Doug trip, but to just our user group conference trip, I believe. But I got to spend a weekend
up. Doug conference?
Yeah, because like all
that's
the people
right. It
were
was
there.
a Doug conference.
I was like all the norms were there. But all the norms. But I got to spend a week up at Kitt Peak, or a weekend up at Kitt Peak Observatory, where they did a workshop on astrophotography.
You your notes and stuff, don't you?
Somewhere, yeah. It was really cool, and it's a really cool observatory to check out, and the fact that they offer like kind of a public sort of where the public can go up there and get tours and everything and see the telescopes, or you can actually do a public kind of like a night session where you can either spend the night or you get a nighttime viewing through one of the telescopes. But it's an active astronomy research observatory. So you have scientists that book time on these telescopes, and they have dormitories, and they spend X amount of time where they're up at night, pointing these telescopes at various places in the universe and gathering that data.
Interesting way of driving down the mountain.
Yeah, because you have to drive down the mountain with your lights off, because you can't have your lights on.
You do follow. There is a lead car that you follow.
Yeah.
And they will tell you when you can turn your lights back on.
Yeah.
But did they have their park lights on? There was a way that we had to follow them, but so we had to make sure. But then coming back also, going back to Phoenix.
That was for Doug. That was for the Doug thing, because we got pulled over. And then two people who were from out of the country didn't have their freaking passports with them, dumbs.
They let us go, but they
let us go mainly because we're white. Anyway. Yeah, they let us go, but they didn't have their passports
Germans,
with
right?
them. I don't know. It might have been the Germans. It might have been the Germans. I don't know if one New Zealander was involved.
We got pulled over by border. This is
in the middle of the night, or it was late at night,
and 100 miles from the border. We were not at the border.
Yeah,
and so,
but I think because we were in vans, so it probably looked like
Yeah, so we got pulled over. They want to know basically.
We're like, no, we're just coming back from Kitt Peak.
Yeah, and luckily they the two Germans that were in the van, they just let go because they were German. But
they were like, okay, they're not smuggling people over from Mexico or whatever,
they're looking for they're
looking for specific. They're profiling is what they're doing. They're profiling, but everybody driving had an ID and was like an American. I know I have I have a hair wisp there, but if you're ever in the States, Kitt Peak Observatory is a fantastic place to check out. Ron says in chat that he's so glad that he gets to work with NORLab and KPNO, and he's been able to visit the mountain several times, and it's always a beautiful experience. Yeah.
And Kitt Peak is not in Tucson, by the way.
No, it's outside of Tucson. It's technically, is it on the reservation property, Ron? Is it in Tona?
It's like an hour. It's not close. It's not immediately right there. You have to go up into the mountain.
Yeah, and that is the thing with observatories, is you'll notice that most astronomical research observatories, they're going to be in usually high altitudes, but also B, cold locations, because you want the least amount of atmospheric interference as possible. So if you look at Mauna Kea in Hawaii, or in Kitt Peak Observatory, the Atacama Desert, these are locations where that you don't have a lot of heat. So what happens is that the heat hot air rises, right? And so that causes the atmosphere to cause this waviness in the atmosphere, this turbulence, and that can interfere with astronomical observations. So you want to have a very dry, cold, high location. You want to have the least atmospheric interference as possible to get the best data on what you're observing.
Right, you
and what you're observing is outside of the universe or outside of the planet.
But what's really
a lot of times outside of the galaxy.
What's really cool though is you can shoot a laser up into the sky, and that laser can measure the disturbance of the atmosphere. And what it does is you will warp the mirror in real time to get it's called adaptive optics, and you'll get a clear
clear
view,
image.
a clear image,
accounting for that atmospheric disturbance.
And so you'll see some pictures of observatories where you see the observatory
and you
see
a
laser
laser
that shoots out of it, and that laser is measuring the atmosphere. And the atmosphere, that measurement goes into a computer in real time.
So it can change and adjust
things. The mirror itself has these little motor kind of things attached to it, and they warp that mirror in real time to make it a clearer image. And technology is an amazing thing. It's going to kill us, but it's an amazing thing. Things we'll learn before it kills us.
So Ron confirms it's Cape Peak is 90 minutes outside of Tucson on Tohono O'odham Nation property. So it is on reservation property. And they're actually working on the nighttime drive down policy for visitors because they've had some incidents with people bumping into the guardrails on their way down. Yeah. I mean, it's dark, and it's supposed to be dark. You don't want a lot of light pollution. That's why you're outside of city limits. You're out there in the middle of nowhere, so to speak, because you don't want that light pollution to interfere.
But you also don't want those headlights shining into telescopes. And so, that was a great visit. Yeah,
that was a fun trip for both of the times that I went for Doug and for that little seminar I got to go to.
Ron should host a conference and we just all descend upon his place and then he takes us up on the mountain.
There you go, Ron. But yeah, it's definitely worth, I would say, and we did briefly mention this in the main show of like your local astronomy club and any star parties that they host, like checking out. And it's not necessarily something, I don't think that you necessarily have to, for a lot of these, have to like camp at or anything. You can go and then leave. There is a huge one here in Oregon. The Oregon Star Party. Right? It's July. It's in the Ochoa National Park. It is huge. There's like apparently hundreds of people that attend it. And it is like, kind of like a camping overnight kind of situation, or it's a multiple day star party actually. But it's huge, and there's a lot of different telescopes that you can look through.
July 30th through August 4th.
Okay, July 30th through August 4th. It's it's kind of expensive to register for it and to go. So this is like really if you want to like camp out in the Oregon desert kind of thing. But it's huge. But like local astronomy clubs usually have like every like on a weekend per month or multiple weekends per month where they have a designated site that they then will have their members bring out their telescopes or what have you, and are just out there for the evening looking at whatever there is to look out there, and you can come and check it out and stay and camp where they are, or you go for like a few hours in the evening and then you go home. But it's a good way to kind of just look for yourself and see the universe through your own eyes rather than just looking at images online of what's out there. And it's fun.
I'm scared to find out how much it costs now.
It was like $100 something, or I should tell you how much it costs, but and it includes like, depending on how many days you're going, like if you want to include meals or something, it's like
pictures, ice, photos.
Yeah. There's no showers. So it's a very camping heavy star party, the Oregon one and the Ochoa National Forest.
But it would be fun.
But like the Eugene Astronomical Society here in Oregon, like they're having one actually this July 5th or something at like it's just like a park or whatever, which I guess is not doing it anymore, and so they're having kind of like a final hurrah at it.
At that one park.
Yeah, but like for when we were at our Voldemort place that we worked at, we would go take the telescopes out to a star party at Alamo Lake State Park in Arizona, which I don't know if they're still doing it. I would assume they are, but I don't know for sure. You can look it up. But we would take the telescopes out there for an evening. We would camp out there for the night. And there would be a ton of people that would come and look through the telescopes, and people would be amazed. They would come look through the telescope, and we would tell them what they were looking at, and we get a lot of oohs and ahs and wows, and tell them more about what they were seeing. I mean, there were some people that were even members of our Voldemort institution that were like, "Oh, I didn't even know there was a planetarium there," which then we just had a shot through the heart, and we're like, "Oh, great." But a lot of kids and families that were just like ooh and ahs, and we would even go take the telescopes out to some like it was Wild Horse Ranch and Casino out in Tucson. Wild Horse Pass Casino and ranch or whatever out in Tucson. They had like, or not in Tucson. It was in Southern Phoenix.
A little south of Phoenix.
And we would just be out with our telescope next to the pool area and just looking at whatever's out there. And so guests of the hotel would just come over and look through the telescope, or they, in their swimsuits, and just walk over. And we'd talk about it, and they would be amazed.
So
and
many
it was
people
just
from
like
Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of people from Chicago.
Interesting. And it was just really fun to kind of like share that with other random people. We also got a free, really good dinner out of it. Yeah, that was our payment for coming out there with telescopes. Was we were just like, you don't have to pay anything for the telescopes. We just get free food. I don't know if our Voldemort institution ever knew anything about that.
Nope.
It was just our little secret, like, hey, we'll do this.
Voldemort.
Hey, we did this for free, but we got free food out of it.
Yes.
Because they had really good food.
Yeah, but there were also like there were times where like I wish I could remember his name, but
of the Tonoho O'odham tribe,
yeah,
he came out and would do star talks on the Native American constellations.
Yeah, but that was he would come to the science to the Voldemort Institution, but then when we were there with the telescopes. Mm-hmm. On occasion, there were a couple occasions.
Yeah, but sometimes there were a couple that he came out and he talked about the Native American.
We would do a thing where it was, I would give a talk about something, and then Tim Terry was his name. He would give a talk about how they saw the same thing. So,
yeah. It's and you know that is really one of the like kind of the facets of astronomy is that there's like for instance with the Crab Nebula, which is supernova remnant, and the supernova itself was seen in 1054 BC.
I think it was AD.
AD-CE. So CE. And the supernova was seen. Beautiful nebula. Google the images. But then astronomers look at historical records, and you can find records in China, but then also the Anasazi tribe. They had recorded this burst of light in the sky that corresponds to the exact dates of the Crab Nebula and corresponds to when the Chinese recorded it as well. And so they could use that and be like, oh, they both witnessed this same event, and this is this nebula. It's
the handprint nebula. It's the handprint image. So it's got a handprint, the star, and then the moon in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they can use these records then to then confirm essentially like, hey, this is when this happened, and we have the evidence, the written evidence of these both completely opposite civilizations seeing it at the exact same time, which is really cool. Are you pulling it up? Yeah, that looks, I guess.
Picture maybe. Right there. Can't really, but there's the hand. Oh. The handprint is. Oh, come jeez. On. The handprint is over there, the moon, and then the
exploding star.
The exploding star.
So a lot of times that astronomers can use historical records like these to then figure out what something was and when it happened, and it's these corresponding details that then are instrumental in that process. I don't know. We don't have a drink rule for cat noises, but if you hear a cat, that Winter is... Wait, you were sleeping this whole time. We've been here this whole time, Mitts. I call him Mitts, or Kitten Mittens, from a Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, but that's his nickname, is Mitts, or Mittens. Anyway, cool. We've had a lot of random discussion in this hangover from the nostalgia of our old television shows, and somehow ended up talking about
we got
telescopes and space stuff at some point. Yeah. Anyway, it's been fun.
July 21st?
Yeah, we will be back at you on
July 21st.
I know, I'm just getting a breath. July 21st, which we will do. I would say we should probably not do a High in the Sky. We should probably do an actual topic of something, depending on if Brandon is with us, because there were some topics that we are reserving for his presence, that he gets excited about. He should be with us more now, though, because he'll have less on assignments that he has to do. But regardless, we'll be back on July 21st. Of course, follow us on all the things at Drinking Cosmos on Twitter, and Cosmos with Cosmos everywhere else. Of course, The Hangover can only be found on YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Cheers, everybody.
It's been fun. Now watch me as I lean forward to end the stream. I'm doing it. I'm ending it. It's going, and goodbye.